Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to my Lambton series. It's been a few days since I recorded a chapter. That's because I was taking my time to let my students who are in my regular class, my physical class, I was letting them have the time to catch up on things. हमारा एग्ज़ाम है चैप्टर 1 to 5 का इस कमिंग मंडे को और उसके लिए मैं चाहता था कि उन लोगों के पास में थोड़ा टाइम हो थोड़ा प्रैक्टिस करने का सो टुडे आई एम हियर टू डिस्कस विद यू चैप्टर 5 which is all about interpersonal skills for the digital world. So इस चैप्टर के बीच में हम लोग बात करेंगे पिछले चैप्टर 4 में बात हुई थी interpersonal communication के ऊपर and just looking at how everything is digital these days, it was felt that there should be a specific emphasis on what it takes as a leader to communicate in the digital world. So without further ado, we'll jump into the content. And before we do that, as always, I'm going to do a quick introduction. Manu Sharma, I'm based here in Ottawa, Canada. Work for a charity here locally for those who do not know me. Work on a number of different initiatives, have worked on a number of different initiatives over the last 25 years, teach at Lambton College where I'm teaching this leadership development course. But the reason I'm teaching at Lambton is because I have a deep-rooted interest in leadership development and talent development, and I've been very actively involved here locally in both leadership and talent development. So ये मेरा बहुत passionate interest है, and one of the reasons that I am putting up this course on YouTube is because मैं चाहता हूँ कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोग across the world can get an idea of कि एक leadership development course यहाँ पे college में कैसे पढ़ाया जाता है, उसके क्या topics हैं, and I hope that you subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so that you know when I put up new videos. और videos के context में I'm making videos from across international students के point of view say about Canada, about Ottawa, leadership development or management के point of view say leadership theories, models, frameworks उनके ऊपर, and then I'll continue to also make videos on the go that are a reflection of what it takes to succeed in Canada. So with that, let's jump into chapter 5, interpersonal skills for the digital world. And looking at the journey that we are taking with this course, HCL 1204, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, and Chapter 4, we've already been through them. Chapter 4 was on interpersonal communication, and now we find ourselves on Chapter 5. And we'll go all the way till Chapter 14 and then conclude with one last video session that will where I would try to bring everything together. So Chapter 5, dedicatedly हम बात करेंगे, as I said before, on interpersonal skills for the digital world. और इसके बीच में, before we get into the chapter, this is something that I do with my regular class. I introduced them to this video by Simon Sinek, who is one of my favorite authors at this point of time. Start with Why Leaders Eat Last. उसके काफी seminal works, we can call them seminal just because of the really big fan following his है. उसका गोल्डन सर्कल्स भी हैं, और बेसिकली ये वीडियो में Simon talks about how smartphone addiction is ruining our life. So you can watch the video on the YouTube link just so that you have a visual cue of what Simon Sinek looks like. मैंने कहा उसकी वीडियो का एक स्क्रीनशॉट आप लोगों को दिखा देता हूँ. And basically what the video is Simon deconstructing जो ये हमारी smartphone addiction है, the smartphone addiction that we have right now, what according to him are of the prominent impacts, what are the prominent things that we need to be considerate of, और उनको उसने जैसे present किया, I have pulled them out, into these 5 major learnings. The first one is that by virtue of their design, smartphones and smart devices are addictive. And उसमें gamification भी है, which basically pulls the end user in, the consumer in, और gamification से user को engage करते हैं वो, so leads to endless scrolling, social media updates, and basically they are exploiting the brain's reward system. So that whole thing of people are always on their phones, they're stuck on their phones, and no matter what they are in the middle of, they're constantly returning to their devices. uh, you know so he attributes that the the specific thought that has gone into the design of these smartphones, कि भाई ये जो स्मार्टफोन्स का जो डिज़ाइन है ये बहुत ही कॉन्शियसली किया गया है विद एन आई ऑन कि आप जो एंड कंज्यूमर्स हैं, एंड यूजर्स हैं, उनको एडिक्टिव, उनके लिए वो स्मार्टफोन को एडिक्टिव कैसे करेंगे, उनको एडिक्ट कैसे कर सकते हैं. मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज, सो इसमें all the mental health challenges that are arising because of smart devices like anxiety, depression, increased stress. So इसमें increased screen time है, you know reduction in the physical time that we are spending with each other, lack of face-to-face communication, also the unnecessary burdens that are being put on people because of the comparisons that come from what's happening in the smartphone world, TikToks, videos. So, basically just highlighting the point that excessive screen time is causing all of these problems that are impacting the overall mental health of people. Cognitive impairments. So, इसके ऊपर तो काफी रिसर्च हो चुकी है. There's a lot of research now on that smartphone addiction is causing, cognitive functions, including attention, memory, and reaction times to go low. So, people are having a tough time focusing. It's leading to people prolonging things, postponing things. So procrastination behavior are becoming more and more prominent. And in general, the point that people who highlight this would make is smartphones, by virtue of the functionalities, the functions that they support, are making people use less and less of their own cognitive capabilities. So uske karke your capacity on the whole is coming down a little bit. Impact on physical health. So we all know this. People are having back issues. People are having issues with their carpal tunnel. People are having eye health issues. Their poor posture is leading to spinal challenges, sleep disturbance because of the blue light, and the impact that blue light has on our sleep. They are all quite well known, and the bottom line on it is in general, there's perceived uh, there's a perceived increase in chronic fatigue. So chronic fatigue is fatigue which is a lingering fatigue. जब आप सारा time थके रहते हो, and that's being attributed to our addiction to smartphones. Social and behavioral consequences. So, the negative impact that smartphones are having on social interactions and relationship, causing users to become more isolated and reliant on virtual interaction. Like now, we hear of people actually finding people online to give them company when they're eating food. So, जो normal human functions थे, जो social bonds थे, and your real life relationships, they are under threat because of our over reliance on the smartphones and the technologies behind them. So the reason these are important for us to discuss, like again commonsensical stuff, not something that you wouldn't have heard before. The reason it's important for us to discuss them is because when you are in a leadership role and you are in a virtual environment and you are working with a virtual team, when you are, especially the nomad, digital nomad lifestyle, if you have people who are all over the place, then it's important for you to understand that smartphones, which are an extension of that whole virtual world, what kind of an impact they are having on the people that you are managing and leading. So that's principally the reason why I like to introduce this upfront. Because अगर आप लीडर हो और आप खुद आपकी खुद एडिक्शन है स्मार्टफोन से, like I kid you not, there are people that I know, even in a professional sense, who would actually they have Apple Watch on their wrist, and the Apple Watch talks with their phone all the time. So even in the middle of very important conversations, they're constantly distracted by the Apple Watch, pinging them, notifications coming through. So उसका इम्पैक्ट होता है आपकी टीम की डायनामिक पे, उसका इम्पैक्ट होता है सब लोगों पे जो आसपास हैं. So that's why this is an important consideration to understand. So what's the focus of this? The focus of the chapter is to look at the role that interpersonal skills and the interpersonal communication plays in the digital age. And specifically, the focus is on how the digital environment and the digital devices impact interpersonal effectiveness, our ability to be with each other, to work with each other, to depend upon each other, to lean on each other. So both positive and negative aspects of digital communication and professional setting would be looked at, and specifically from key learnings, the teachable points, how digital tools can both enhance and hinder interpersonal effectiveness, what it takes to be professional in that digital first environment, where, like, how do you maintain your professionalism in digital communication, especially when digital communication is becoming the most significant communication mechanism. And finally, the telecommuting challenges. So telecommuting again refers to like this work from home or the digital nomad thing. Like, you do not all have to be physically located in the same place as a team. So geographic location is not, or the geographic boundaries are not the consideration for the team. So like, it introduces its own a unique set of interpersonal challenges and requires its own set of skills. So just taking a look at them. So one-on-one interaction, what are the skills for that? So we know the tools, there's so many of them: email, text, social media. You can do all of those through your cell phones. Now we have video starting to take a dominant role in our one-on-one interactions. So positive skills: using standard ringtones, informing callers about being on a cell phone, letting coworkers know about important calls, asking before using smartphones for work-related information, turning off phones during conversation. So agar aapko, if you have to jump onto the Google search to look up something very quickly, courtesy demands that you ask to be excused. So just remembering that, while there's a advantage to having all of these things in our pocket, it's also important for us to make sure that the way we engage with technology, especially when we are around people, especially when we are in the middle of a conversation, that we are not engaging with technology in a disruptive way. So वो बहुत जरूरी है, especially as a leader, because as a leader, if you're not being careful, then you're setting an example for everybody else to follow. और उस केस में फिर आपकी जो टीम है उसके ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट होता है. So negative behaviors, obviously the flip side of what we already discussed: accepting calls, loud or distracting ringtones, constant phone checking. Especially when I was in India this last time around, I found that everybody's ringtone was some kind of a song. And while it is very interesting in a personal setting to to have a phone start blurting out a song, I can imagine what it would be like if you were in a professional setting and that's how the phones would ring. So Just being a little bit cognizant, uh, just being just taking the time to be a little bit disciplined goes a long way. So, as it relates to email and instant messaging, I think the one thing of the first point here, professional communication, that I would really like to highlight is the whole importance of proofreading. Uh, I'll talk about the briefness and the relevance right after, but proofreading, like just taking that intentional moment to reread the message before sending it out. And it doesn't matter whether it is an informal message or a formal message. I think it's important to just get into the habit of proofreading. You will be surprised how many times, even after you would have written the most, confident email, the most confident note, when you proofread it, you will discover some mistakes, even if it's a spelling mistake. Now, going to briefness and relevance, especially when it comes to professional communication, like, there's no point in, you know, saying too many things. Like, there's no point in weaving a story around something that you can get to very directly. So that's something, especially coming in as an international student, I had to consciously learn, because when I came here from India, uh, the way I was used to writing, you always spend the first little while, even when you were writing an email or a letter, inquiring about the person's health, hoping that they were doing well, hoping that their uncle was doing well, hoping that their chicken was doing well. And here in North America, especially, while you want the message to be courteous and kind and warm, you still want it to be brief and stick to what's most relevant. So that's very important from a professional communication point of view. But if you were to ask me, I would say proofreading still is the thing that you want to intentionally develop. Legal implications. So, very important for you to understand, especially when you're using a formal email account, that a lot of things that you would say would have a legal aspect to them. First of all, anything that you promise or anything that you commit could be legally binding. So, second, on the flip side, anything that you are inappropriate about can get you in real trouble, as it should. So, you have to be very careful. Like, you have to be very careful with using email, because one of the things that happens is, when we are in a virtual environment, we let our guards down a little bit, and that absolutely can get you in trouble. So whether it's a use of some language that you shouldn't have used, whether it is like, for example, you may in a fit of craziness expose somebody's personal information, private information, that you should never have, and that you were actually required not to. That can get you in a lot of trouble. So you have to really understand that while you're behind a computer and while it is all happening virtually, uh, it still has a lot of legal implications. It's still, a lot of what you do is still governed by law. Finally, instant messaging etiquette. So avoidance intrusion, maintain professionalism. So we talked about that whole concept of space, intimate space versus personal space versus professional space. Like, what's the appropriate space that you have to give to somebody when you are with them physically? The same also applies in the virtual environment. That's what intrusion means. That do not be in somebody's space when either they are not expecting you to be, but more importantly, if they have outright asked you not to be, then you have to really respect that. Webcam job interviews, preparation tips, lighting, appropriate clothing, relaxed demeanor, uncluttered background, good posture. So these are all commonsensical things, but it's important. Like, so let me tell you what I have on my own side as something that I pay specific attention to. I have a little checklist, so which I would not go to when I am in my regular conversations with my team. But for example, if I am going to be jumping on a call with my board of directors or somebody who is representative of a stakeholder, a strategic stakeholder relationship, I have a checklist, and I'll make sure that I check off on all those things before I jump on the video call. The other thing that I do, which has actually worked out really well for me, is I, by default, I keep my webcam off. So that's just the default that I've set in all of my video conferencing platforms. So whether it is MS Teams or Zoom, or even uh, I don't know about whether I have been able to set it in LinkedIn, but definitely on those two principal ones, that by default when I get on a call, my camera is always off. So which gives me the opportunity to make sure that everything is as it should be before other people can see me. So common mistakes: overestimating one's video presence, lack of rehearsal. So again, not any different from what you would have to practice if you were practicing for face-to-face interaction. But again, I think the more important thing is we often tend to forget these things in the virtual environment because we sometimes do not feel the pressure that we would have felt if it was a face-to-face. Multitasking and interpersonal relationships. So handling multiple projects versus doing multiple things simultaneously. Um, you've just got to be very careful, especially in the virtual environment, that you are able to manage how you are multitasking while still being in the company of people virtually, because even if you are being effective on your end, it could still be distracting for somebody else as they are trying to have a conversation with you, or they're trying to have a conversation with each other. So something even as simple as, like, for example, in my case, at uh, in my home office, I have three screens, three monitors. So if my cam is working off my middle monitor and my eyes are constantly darting between my other two screens because I'm trying to do something in the background. So even though I may be typing very quietly, I may be on mute and they cannot hear me, the fact that they can notice my eyes darting from one screen to another would tell them that I am maybe not paying them the full attention. And even if I was somehow to pay them the attention that they need from me, uh, it would still be a bit of a bother for somebody who can catch it. So just being cognizant of that and just being very careful about it. So social networking and smaller audiences. um, Social networking has is very powerful because it allows us to be connected almost in real time. It allows us to be there for each other almost instantaneously. So it has a lot of advantages from a coaching and a mentoring and a supporting point of view. It also, as I mentioned before, it also diminishes the stress and the burden that people often feel when they have to do a lot of networking in person, even if it is in the comfort of their work environment. Because public speaking, even in small controlled groups, is still one of the biggest fears for most people. So बहुत advantages हैं उसके. You can actually use it in quite ingenious ways, but at the same time, uh, it can also very quickly lead you to into a situation where it forces conformance. कि भाई, if you're not gonna come with us, then you're gonna become a bit of an oddball. So which leads to things like cyberbullying, inappropriate sharing, where whether it is done consciously, subconsciously, inadvertently, or advertently, doesn't matter. The fact that you if you're not very careful, you may have shared something inappropriately. And finally, because of the ease that it brings to being able to connect with each other and talk with each other, it does become a platform for people to vent and express their frustration. So remember the five things with Simon Sinek, the one on mental health and chronic fatigue. So, because of the ease of communication, because of how easy it is to get in touch with each other, it lends itself very quickly to being used in that sense. So, telecommuting challenges and opportunities. Allows you to work independently, allows you to maintain communication, but it definitely takes away from the warmth that comes with in person. One would also like, this is where people are divided a lot. I'll tell you my position in a second. A lot of people will contend that not being able to meet in person has an impact on creativity, innovation. सो जो वो हमारी एबिलिटी है विच कम्स विद कि जब हम लोगों को मिलते हैं व्हेन वी आर विद पीपल और उनके साथ में काम करते हैं, उनसे सीखते हैं, there's a there's definitely people, लोग हैं जो कहते हैं कि ये जो सारा का सारा टेलीकम्यूटिंग है, वर्चुअल एनवायरनमेंट है, ऑफ साइट है, वर्क फ्रॉम होम है, उसके करके जो हमारी क्रिएटिव आउटपुट है और जो हमारा इनोवेटिव पोटेंशियल है, उन दोनों के ऊपर बहुत इम्पैक्ट पड़ रहा है। और इस बात में दम भी है, there's some reality to it. So I said I will tell you where I stand on this. I actually tend to lean towards this point too. I think if everything was to be taken to a virtual environment and if folks were to just stop meeting with each other, then it has a definite impact both on the quality of work as also the motivation of staying connected. Uh, Motivation that allows you to stay connected with each other and feel that you're a part of the same team. No matter what you do virtually, वो जो एक human need है to be around people, that does not get satisfied, in those environments. So, managing online reputation, you know, I share this anecdote with my students always, and I usually do it by actually, uh, starting a doing a Google search in front of them and typing my name in it, and then I have to look at my class and tell them that, yes, I am Manu Sharma, and I didn't kill Jessica Lal, which is a horrible uh, thing to share with the class, but it always makes this really strong impression on them. Like it leaves them with this impression that I want to leave with them. That we have online reputations, sometimes in our control, sometimes outside our control. But at least for the part that is in our control, we have to be very careful with it. We have to be very cognizant of it. जो इसका वो वाला पार्ट है जिसको हम कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं, जिसको जिसको हम फिगर कर सकते हैं, तो एटलीस्ट उस पार्ट के लिए जो हम हैं अपना कोशिश तो करें कि अपनी जो ऑनलाइन रेपुटेशन है उसको कैसे कैसे मैनेज कर सकते हैं, कैसे मेंटेन कर सकते हैं, कैसे रिफाइन कर सकते हैं, कैसे एम्पलीफाई कर सकते हैं. सो that is a discussion maybe that I will bring to another video on how do you best leverage everything that is now available to us through internet and through all these social media and smart technologies. But the bottom line on it is at the minimum avoid sharing controversial or personal content. Don't get in trouble. If you cannot do it well, at least try not to get in trouble. And with that, we are coming to a conclusion here on chapter 5, which was interpersonal communication in the digital world. So, what are some of the things for us to carry forward? balancing digital and face-to-face communication. So this is something that I was already getting into a little bit with this last slide, that I'm personally a fan of being able to balance both. I don't think in today's day and time everybody needs to be constantly traveling back and forth from work. उसका भी कोई specific advantages नहीं है. In fact, all the time that is saved in that commuting can actually be used more powerfully, even if it is used to spend time with your own families, or to do something that you personally want to do. So time limited है सबके पास में, और अगर वो time release हो सकता है तो क्यों नहीं. Having said that, जो आपकी पर्सनल इंटरेक्शन है, जो आपकी ग्रोथ उस पर्सनल इंटरेक्शन से आती है, जो आपको उस पर्सनल इंटरेक्शन से मोटिवेशन मिलती है, उसकी कोई रिप्लेसमेंट नहीं है इन द डिजिटल डोमेन. सो it's very important to be able to balance both of them. The second point is digital distractions. So, I already talked to you about this habit of checking your Apple Watch, if that's what you're carrying with you on your wrist. वैसे ही I have been in meetings where somebody knew that there was a game being played between two a cricket game being played between two countries that they were following. So they're like looking at their phone screen every 15 minutes to follow the game. Actually, every 15 seconds sometimes, and that's just distraction. So that's a distraction that you're causing for other people. But the flip side of it is you also have to minimize distractions for yourself, because it's so easy to be distracted when you're in the digital domain. So आप अगर डिस्ट्रैक्ट खुद होते रहेंगे तो आपका जो कम्युनिकेशन का पोटेंशियल है, जो आपकी कम्युनिकेशन अपनी कम्युनिकेशन के बारे में अवेयरनेस है, अपनी मैसेजिंग के बारे में अवेयरनेस है, आपके अपनी जो आउटकम्स आप अचीव करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं उनके बारे में अवेयरनेस है, आप उनसे डिस्ट्रैक्ट हो गए. सो इट्स वेरी इजी टू स्टार्ट मूविंग अवे फ्रॉम थिंग्स that you were originally aiming for, and to get caught up in things that are not the best value for the time and energy spent. And finally, building digital relationship. So this analyzing how to build and maintain professional relationships in a digital world sounds easy, but believe me, you need to have a plan for that. You need to have a framework for that. You need to have a time tested methodology to both create those relationships, but also to strengthen and ultimately benefit from those relationships. कि आपने उन relationships को set कैसे करना, और उन relationships के साथ में जो आपकी mutual value exchange है, उस value exchange को आपने कैसे perform करना है. अगर आप उसके बारे में conscious नहीं होंगे, अगर आप उसके बारे में सोचेंगे नहीं, तो वो that is going to be a problem for your effectiveness. और उसके बारे में सोचना बहुत जरूरी है. So with that, we have come to the end of this chapter. ये chapter again, like I said, common sensical लगता है, पर अगर देखा जाए तो बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, बहुत ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट है. अभी हम लोगों ने स्पेशली इन द पोस्ट कोविड वर्ल्ड हियर इन नॉर्थ अमेरिका, तो हमने ये देखा है कि देयर वाज अ ह्यूज फैसिनेशन. पहले तो थोड़ा जबरदस्ती हुआ, ऑल ऑफ अस गॉट पुश्ड इनटू आवर होम ऑफिसेस बाय फोर्स. सो पीपल pushed back on that, like, how long are we going to stay at home. फिर जब वो घर में रह के पजामा पहन के काम करने की आदत पड़ गई, तो फिर उसके बाद में पुश बैक आई ऑफ अ साइलेंट मेजॉरिटी कि भाई अब हम घर से ही काम करेंगे, क्योंकि everybody got comfortable with this whole idea of not commuting to work, not being stuck in traffic, not driving out to work, not having to run out and grab a sandwich when you are 5 seconds away from your kitchen. So, we have seen both ends of the spectrum, but where it has landed us is digital is now such a big part of how we conduct business. आप उसको अवॉइड नहीं कर सकते. सो उसके बीच में आपको अपनी लीडरशिप भी उसी के थ्रू एग्जीक्यूट करनी है, आपको अपनी लीडरशिप उसी के थ्रू प्लान करनी है, आपको अपनी लीडरशिप जो मैनेज करनी है, जो ग्रो करनी है, उसके लिए जो आपको रिसोर्सेज लाइन अप करने हैं, कैपेसिटी बिल्ड करनी है, यू गोना हैव टू डू इट ऑल थ्रू द डिजिटल वर्ल्ड नाउ, or you're going to have to do a prominent part of it through the digital world. सो अगर आपकी इसके बारे में इंटेंशनैलिटी नहीं है, आपकी इसके बारे में स्ट्रैटेजी नहीं है, आप इसके बारे में सोच के काम नहीं कर रहे हैं, एंड यू आर जस्ट लुकिंग एट एंड सेइंग लाइक jumping onto a webcam based communication is as simple as just turning your webcam on and doing it, but you're not thinking of key what's the skill set I need, what's the tool set I need, what's the data set I need, then you're going to not get in trouble as much as you're going to start hit the limit of your growth very quickly. So it becomes very important to become self-aware in this domain. So with that, I'll take your leave. As always, I'm leaving my contact email for Lambton College on the screen. This is both for my students and for anybody else who is either looking to get some more information about this program, this course, or even Lambton College, or to that effect, even education in Canada. If you're genuinely interested and you believe that I can provide you some context, or I can provide you with some support, then please let me know. But you have to be genuinely interested. Like I have lots of time for people that are in need for genuine help because they have genuine intention. So please let me know अगर कुछ चाहिए. Comments के through भी बता सकते हैं, email भी लिख सकते हैं. And with that, I'll take your leave, and I'll see you sometime soon with chapter 6.